Okay, looks like we're all set. Let's wait for 10, 10 to 15 seconds to make sure that we are all in, and then we'll start. Okay, let's give it a couple of more seconds. Okay, uh, let's get to it then. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Mislav from HR Cloud, and today we're tackling something that sounds simple but gets complicated really fast, and that's managing employee time off. Most teams start out fine, a few requests, quick email, and it's all done. But once you add multiple departments, different locations, holidays, uh, manager approvals, and so on, spread things can fall apart very quickly, right? Because you've just increased the amount of complexity. Spreadsheets get outdated, emails get missed, and HR ends up in the middle of it all. So today I want to show you how shared calendars can fix all of those issues by giving everyone the visibility they need to make better scheduling decisions. So here's our agenda for today. We'll walk through why time of management gets harder as you scale, the most common challenges we hear from HR teams, and what employees and managers actually need from the process. And then we'll get into how shared calendars solve the issues, including multi-location holiday management, and I will also mention our ADP integration. Once we go through the theoretical part, so to speak. We'll finish with a live demo, and then we'll also have some time for questions. So let's get right into it. Uh, so no, no company really starts with a time off problem. Uh, you start with few employees and a very simple, straightforward process, like we mentioned, usually, an email message and a reply with the approval, or maybe you're using WhatsApp or Teams or something like that. But as you grow, the simplicity doesn't scale. More employees means more coordination touch points, managers, departments, approval chains all multiply together. Then add multiple office locations, each with their own holiday schedules and a compliance requirement, and it gets even more complex. Without the central view, managers are essentially guessing when they approve requests, uh, what we call the planning gap. They might say yes to someone's vacation without knowing three or more other people are on from the same team are out that week, right? And that can cause a lot of issues, especially if you're if you know some you can find yourself lacking the necessary workforce to finish a project, for example. Uh, and in a nutshell, that's how simple processes can become very difficult without visibility, right? Because complexity, it comes naturally out of growth, but uh, it can catch you off guard because sometimes people are not prepared for that. They just expect that they can keep using the simple process for a complex organization, which is not always the case. So what does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis? Well, requests gets buried in email threads and disconnected messages, things slip through the cracks. Managers keep their own spreadsheets, which become outdated the moment they're saved. Nobody knows who else has, whose else time offs, who else's time off, sorry, has been approved. So overlapping absences can create last-minute scrambles. Employees constantly have to ping HR just to check their own time off balances. And what this all boils down to is that HR ends up spending hours on manual coordination and data reconciliation instead of just focusing on strategies and more important tasks. So what we can see from this scenario is that the problem isn't the approval process. The problem is that the information is scattered across too many places. And when that happens, mistakes are inevitable. And you have spent a lot of time double checking and comparing different sources to make sure you have the correct information. But what do people actually want when we're talking about time off management? Well, it comes down to simplicity for everyone. Employees want instant access to their balances, to see who's already out before they submit a request, and to get a fast answer on their approval. And managers basically want the same thing. They want a comprehensive team view so they can plan coverage confidently before they approve a request. And HR wants clear holiday information and streamlined approval workflows. So basically, they need one source of truth instead of 5 different spreadsheets. When everyone's working from the same information, scheduling gets a lot easier and conflicts drop significantly. And that's why a shared calendar changes the game. Approved absences show up immediately. No more surprise departures or chasing down information. Manager can check real-time team capacity before they actually approve a request, which means decisions are based on data. They're not guesswork. And that transparency also has a cultural benefit. When scheduling is open and consistent, it builds trust across teams. And the flow of success looks as follows. Time of request, approval, data displayed in a shared calendar, which allows visibility for everybody, and better decisions. For organization with multiple offices or location, there's also an added layer, which is different holiday schedule. And a shared calendar also handles that issue very smoothly, supporting localized holiday schedules for each location while keeping everything in one unified view for everybody. Employees always know which holidays applies to them, managers know it too, and it's all from one source of truth. On the integration side, where we're going to mention one of our payroll integration, which is ADP, because, as you already know, it's one of the most popular payroll softwares in the world. And HR Cloud has a connection with it. What that means for our users? Well, that means that HR Cloud syncs with ADP automatically, and you don't have to worry about making double data entries. ADP steers your core database, and HR Cloud gives your managers and employees the day-to-day visibility and planning tools that they need on top of it. With our APIs, we can do similar things with other payroll software. I'm just bringing ADP because a lot of you who are our clients are also using it, and ADP is one of the bigger providers out there, which can resonate with the other people present here who are not currently our users. So this impact goes beyond convenience. When visibility improves, you see fewer scheduling conflicts that disrupt project timelines, and staffing levels can be aligned proactively with business needs. HR spends less time on repetitive tasks and more time on strategy. Managers get the data they need for quick, confident approvals. And employees experience a faster, clearer process, which reduces anxiety and builds trust across the organization. And this all can seem like a small change, but when you have hundreds or even thousands of employees, depending on accurate scheduling information, visibility does become a real strategic asset. All right, so let's get into the platform now to see it in action. I'll walk you through the core workflows, how employees submit requests, how managers approve requests, and how absences appear on the shared calendar. We'll also see the holiday schedules, and we'll chat a bit about how this works with ADP. So let's get right into it. Okay, perfect. So this is the time off app, and whether you're a manager or an employee, when you click to access the app, you are immediately land on an overview tab. And from a user perspective, for your own information, the overview gives you quite a lot, almost everything that you need. Right here at the top, it will show you absence requests you can make and your balances. If you scroll down, you will see a personal calendar where it will display your time off requests, both approved and pending ones, and also relevant holidays. On the right side, it will also be a list of upcoming time offs as well highlighted. So they're immediately in your view and you don't forget about them. And then recent accruals at the bottom. Let me now show you how easy it is to make a time off request. So let's say if I want to go on vacation, I will hit plus, and the only thing I need to do is to add the start and end date. Our software is also highly customizable, so you can notice on my request I added some customization. So if you want this request to act almost or to replace like a form that you were using previously and collect a bunch of information besides the start and end date, that's easily doable. And as you can see, you can collect quite a bit of information and also documents. I can attach, let's say, my doctor's notice if I'm making a sick leave request. In this case, it's a vacation request, so I'm not going to do that. But as you can see, you can keep it simple, or you can capture all the information you need so that when a manager is reviewing the request, they immediately have all the knowledge they need to be able to approve or deny. And once I click save, that's it. The request has been made, and now my manager will have to approve. If we go into the shared company calendar, you'll notice right away that here we have everything on display, right? Monthly view, weekly view, daily view, and I can easily see who's off when, which requests are approved, which requests are not approved. You can also notice that these requests can be displayed in the time unit of days, or you can do it in hours. And of course, if you're using hours as the time unit, then employee can make requests that are not, a whole day off. Maybe I just need 2 hours to go to the doctor's office from 9 to 11, like add here, and I can make that type of request as well. And my manager or HR will be able to see it on the calendar view very easily when they're reviewing the week or the day or whatever. Right here, you can notice red flagged event, which is how we flag holidays, right? So this is the 4th of July. If I click on that holiday, it will also tell me to which locations this holiday applies to. I've selected all the states in the US where I have employees. And for my other employees that are in Europe or Asia, for example, for them, this holiday is not relevant, so it will not display to them. The calendar view also allows for filtering, right? So you can create specific views if you just want to track teams or location or departments or whatever the case may be. Once you create views, you can save them So for example, I can hop on here and select my El Segundo view to check out that specific location and see who's out. Or I can also go into my LA view, right? And notice that nobody from LA is out. So only people from El Segundo are taking advantage of their times off. And of course, I can get back to a standard view very easily. If I'm the manager, I can also make an approval from here, right? So let's say we have Howard. I am Howard's manager. And when I click on his request, I'll immediately be able to approve or deny and leave a comment. So approving and making requests, very straightforward. Also, as you can see, accessing and navigating the calendar, also very simple. This calendar does have rules though in the settings. So we can also adjust, the permissions for the calendar and what should teams actually see. In my example, I wanted to show you very, straightforward scenario. So I've allowed all employees to see when all of their colleagues are out. But it doesn't have to be the case because you can apply rules to specific groups. For example, I can select my HR group and then I can say I want them to see approved requests only for their own departments, right? So I can select HR. So if you want to have different rules to make sure that employees on one location or on one department, right, can see only their colleagues from the same team, that's no problem. We can create those as well. So you can configure this to suit your needs, right? You don't have to give 100% of the access to everybody. And another thing I wanted to mention here is the calendar integration. To make it easier for managers, especially, to follow when their teams are out, we built a Google and Office 365 integration where you can connect your Google or Office calendars. I've connected my Google Calendar. So right here, you can notice the HR Cloud time off has been added under the My Calendars heading, and I can see my teams from here. So I don't even have to log in into HR Cloud to keep track of who's out when I'm interested. Well, I'm planning maybe next week or something. I can just turn on, the calendar here and check out who's out when. And when I don't need it anymore, I can just turn it off and then turn back my regular calendar. Now, how does this all connect to payroll, ADP specifically in this case? Well, we import all the employees from ADP. And then if you want to use the shared calendar functionality specifically, we can import the time of requests that have been approved in ADP and just display them here. So ADP that way becomes your main keeper of records, and you're using HR Cloud for the day-to-day visibility. There is an ADP login SSO option as well, so you don't even need a separate set of credentials to access HR Cloud. And of course, this is all available on mobile as well. So you can get a phone app and you can make requests from your phone and check out the calendar from your phone. All right. Now that we've seen this software in action, a couple of words to summarize this before the Q&A. So as you've seen, time of management doesn't have to be complicated at all. Centralized visibility cuts down on confusion and administrative overhead. Shared calendars empower both managers and employees to make better decisions. And when your HR tools are integrated, everything works together as one cohesive system instead of a patchwork of disconnected apps. Now, let's take a couple of minutes for some of your questions before we jump off. Okay, let me see. Okay, so first question, can we track different types of time off like sick leave, bereavement, or unpaid leave, etc.? Great question. And I know I didn't speak on that too much during the presentation because during the demo, I should say, because the focus was on the shared calendar. But the answer is yes. So during the setup of the app, we can configure any type of request that you want people to be able to make, work from home, personal time off, and the ones you've mentioned. And we can also set up visibility rules for those types of requests. So if specific location or a specific department is the only one that should be able to make, let's say, personal time off requests, we can put those restrictions in place so not all requests are available to everybody. Okay, let's see if there is another question. Okay, we do have another one that's related to configuration. So, and it's a perfect segue from the first. How do accruals work? Can we set different policies for different employee groups? The answer is yes. So once we set up the types of absence requests that employees are allowed to make, we then configure also the time off policies, right? So that's the accrual policies where you, we can set up how much time people accrue and on which schedule. Is it monthly? Is it weekly? Is it front loaded at the start of the year? And a bunch of other options. And then the policies will be assigned to the appropriate employees so they can accrue and track their balances. Okay. Can HR pull reports on time off usage across the company? Yes. So in our reports, there is a report simply called time off. HR can click on it and then they can select the start and end date. So basically tell the system, for which period do they want to have the report on. And then the system will just immediately display all the time of requests for that period. They can also filter out if they want to see only approved or only canceled requests, filter out, see a certain team, etc. And those are all exportable as well. Okay, let's see. Now we have an ADP question. So is the ADP question or does the ADP integration work only for the shared calendar? And the answer there is actually no. So the calendar was the focus of the webinar. So we mentioned how the calendar works with ADP if you just want to use HR Cloud for the day-to-day visibility. However, there's also another version of the integration. So the calendar is the more stripped down version, but you have a full version as well, where HR Cloud will send approved time off requests into ADP. And then the time will be deducted from the balances, right, in payroll. ADP is still your main source of truth in that scenario, but you can use HR Cloud not only for the calendar, but also to handle the whole approval process workflow as well. If you have, a complex approval that requires multiple people to approve, or as you've seen, if you want to have like a request that's customized, so you can capture all the information you need, not just the start and not just the start and end times. Okay, we have time for one more question. Can employees see their colleagues' time off or just their own? Well, so that's a question we actually answered during the presentation, but I know we covered a lot of ground, so maybe you missed it. Employees can see both depending on how you configure the visibility rules, right? So in the app, you can set up any number of rules to define the visibility you want. So you can restrict employees to see only their own time. You can allow them to see when everybody from the company is out. You can, have something in between, and then allow them to see only when their team's out, depending of the business need and use case, of course. Okay, great. So that's all the time we had for today. I'd like to thank you all again for joining today's session. Before we go, some contact information. If you'd like a personal walkthrough, visit us at hrcloud.com or reach out at sales@hrcloud.com. We'd love to show you how this works for your specific setup. Hope to see you soon and have a great rest of your days.